All right, Major League. This is definitely a classic. You have to have this in your movie collection. They're great. The first one, of course, is always better than the other. I think four because there's part two, three, and then Back to the Minors. Or no, there's part two and then three is Back to the Minors. But the first one is just great, man. I love the Major League movies. These are one of the good Charlie Sheen movies out there. And I used to love baseball as a kid, so that's why I love the whole Major League movies. Um, Major League, this is like the Wild Thing edition with like extra features. I think it's got like deleted scenes and stuff like that. Major League 2, this movie was just not that good, to be honest. Major League Back to the Minors is absolutely horrible. Stick with the first one. Damon Wayans in Major Pain. This movie is a must-have in your 90s if you're a 90s fan. And I remember this movie when it came out. I was really into this movie. I watched it tons of times. It's just great, man. Damon Wayans ends up taking like this like boot camp. I think he used to be like a hardcore like officer or whatever, or sergeant or whatever you call it. And then now he like got demoted down and he has to like teach these like little pain in the asses. And they're major pains, I guess. Good movie though. Have to have that in the collection. Mystical, Making Baby. This is one of the I think Mystical had like he was part of like the No Limit rappers. This is a guy who ended up, I forgot why, but I think he raped a girl and he's been in like prison ever since. Um, but this is an old school movie. I know I watched it before. I don't remember much about it. But yeah, he's definitely in prison for raping a woman. I shouldn't support that movie then, huh? Because I'm against rape. Paul Blart, Mall Cop. I love this movie. This is one of my favorite movies, man. I remember that I rented this movie and I was just so into it. It's just, I love it. This is one of the best Paul Blart movies that there is. I didn't like part two as much as part one, but part one is just the best, man. The best. And part two, it's still a good movie. It's still Mall Cop. It's just not as good as the first one. Mallrats. One of my favorite movies, man. This is one of the first like Jay and Silent Bob like movies that ever was. There ever was. And I think this is like the collector's edition. Have to have Mallrats, man. I kind of want to get this on Blu-ray because it used to be one of my favorite movies. It's just about Mallrats, these like grown men in their like 20s that like hang around malls all day because it's like a little town. There's nothing to do but like go to the mall. Pretty funny movie, man. I used to watch this tons of times. Mama's Boy with Napoleon Dynamite, dude. Definitely, it's a good movie. I enjoyed this one. He's a mama's boy, and he didn't really make that many movies after Napoleon Dynamite that were any good. I remember this one was okay though. Mambo Italiano, um, pretty pretty stupid, but I'm Italian. I'm a Guido. I'm a Wop, and I just had to support this dumb movie. The Man. I think this movie's out of print. Eugene Levy, Samuel L. Jackson. This is kind of one of those movies that's forgotten about. Not a lot of people remember this movie. It didn't do that well, but I enjoyed it, man. It's pretty funny, man. Eugene Levy is pretty funny in it. Man of the Year, Dollar Bin, absolutely horrible Robin Williams movie. All right, The Man Who Knew Too Little. This movie's okay. I don't really like it. There's definitely better Bill Murray movies than this. Groundhog Day, Ghostbusters movies. This one, I didn't like this one that much. Pretty sure I got it in the dollar bin. Man on the Moon. This is kind of more of a comedy drama about the true story about this comedian. I think he was like an alcoholic. I can't remember. He had like real mental problems. I think Jim Carrey, they couldn't have picked a better actor than Jim Carrey to play the part of this guy as Andy. He kills this role. Let's see, The Man with Two Brains with Steve Martin. I this scared me. I think I remember when I was a kid and I couldn't watch it. I haven't even tried to watch it again. I just got it because I'm a Steve Martin fan. Mannequin with Andrew McCarthy. I think this movie's out of print. I might have forgot to mention that in my last out of print comedy movie collection I did, or video I did. But it's okay. I'm definitely a Weekend at Bernie's and Kansas are my favorite Andrew McCarthy movies. March of the Penguins, just a bunch of actors. It's kind of stupid. Marley and Me. This is a comedy drama, and it kind of it's gonna make you cry. That's all I'll say. But it's a really good movie. I love this movie, but I can't watch it a second time because it's kind of sad. Mars Attacks. This movie right here is one of my favorite movies. Great movie, all-star cast. I saw this movie in the theater, and it was just great. Tons of action, tons of comedy. It's just great. But I was so young when I watched it. I didn't watch it as a comedy. I watched it like a space sci-fi movie. So I didn't really get most of the jokes when it came out, but I just liked it for that. Great sci-fi comedy movie. Management with Steve Zahn and Jennifer Aniston. Not that good. Martian Child. This one was pretty good. I like this one. Kind of more of a comedy drama. The Mask. The first one, I watched this one in school. I think I was like 12 years old. And everybody was into this movie. I watched this tons of times. It's a classic. Must have for your comedy collection. Jamie Kennedy was in the Son of the Mask movie. The second one, which came out like more than like a decade after the first one. I enjoyed this one too. It was a good movie. Definitely not as good as the first one, but still a good movie. Matilda. I loved this movie when I was a kid. Saw it in the movie theater. It's just, it's one of those great movies, man. If you grew up in the 90s, then you have to remember Matilda. It's just a great movie. I liked it better than James and the Giant Peach. And what was the other one that came out in the 90s? I think it was just this one and that one, but I really liked Matilda. I remember I read all the Roald Dahl books when I was a kid, so I really liked this movie. Saw it in school. Maverick. Absolutely horrible. No need to talk about this one. One of those movies I'm probably not going to keep. Me, Myself, and Irene is a great movie. Loved this movie. Saw it in the theater. One of the first R-rated movies I saw in the theater. This movie was so good, man. I absolutely love this one. You know, some of the best Jim Carrey movies are like Cable Guy, Me, Myself, and Irene. I really like Bruce Almighty. Of course, the Ace Ventura movies, but Liar, Liar, of course. But this one is a great one as well. Just a great movie. He has split personalities because he like holds in all this like anger. He's like the good guy that never gets angry, and then one day he snaps, and then like he just gets angry and turns into like another personality that's like really mean and bitter and angry and evil. So love it. Mean Girls. I don't know. I have this movie. Never watched it. Might be a girlfriend's movie. I don't know. Meatballs with Eddie Murphy. Old school Eddie Murphy. I am tripping. Bill Murray. See, when there's so many movies I have to go through, it's like, I did not mean Eddie Murphy. I meant Bill Murray. But Meatballs, old 80s movie. I don't really remember that movie that much. Had to get it for Bill Murray. A Merry Freaking Christmas. This is actually the last Robin Williams movie that he made. I don't even think that he finished the movie. I think that he's like, I don't remember him being in this that much because they didn't finish the movie and then he ended up dying. But it's still a good movie, man. Good holiday movie. Meet the Parents, definitely a must-have movie in your comedy collection. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I watched this tons of times when it came out. It's just a great movie, man. Great Ben Stiller. I like the Meet the Parent movies better than Something About Mary, to be honest. Meet the Fuckers. Great movie. Love it. Wow, I don't have the third one. I think there's a third one. I need to get that one. Meet Wally Sparks. It was great. I remember I couldn't see it because it was rated R, and I really loved Rodney Dangerfield as a kid, but I couldn't watch it because it was rated R. And it wasn't even that good of a movie. It's just great because it's Rodney Dangerfield, and he only has a handful of movies that he's like the star of. Meet the Spartans, just another scary movie knockoff making fun of the other like action movies like 300 and a couple more. Pretty horrible. Not like the scary movies. Men at Work. This movie's good. Like this one. Total, I think, what is it? 91 or 89? 90. I was wrong. I was close. I was in between. Good movie though. Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen. Men in Black, saw this movie in the movie theater. I remember I saw this on opening day at Van Ness, and the line was like all the way around the block. And everybody was just super. This movie was like, the hype that they made about this movie was just, they hyped this movie up, and it definitely earned one of the best movies of all time to me. It's just a great movie, man. I love it. Men in Black 2 and 3. I don't even have part 3, but I'm a fan of the first one. I really didn't like part 2 or part 3. Probably not even going to hunt down part 3. A Million to One, this movie is another great movie, another movie that you just have to have in your collection. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. It's basically about this Mexican guy who basically, he's trying to make ends meet. He's trying to provide for his family. He gets jobs where they rip him off and everything. And then one day, out of the blue, some guy just pulls up in a car and gives him $1 million. And that's what the movie's about. So just that storyline makes this movie great. And it really has a good message. Like, this is more, I think it's PG, like the whole family can watch this movie. It's a really good message movie. I don't want to say what happens at the end, but he doesn't care about the money. He's just a really good guy in that movie. Mixed Nuts, horrible. Mighty Aphrodite, this is a Woody Allen movie, wasn't that good. I just collect Woody Allen. Money Talks. This movie was pretty good. I enjoyed this one. Kind of an action comedy movie. It's pretty good. I like this one. I definitely watched it over 5 times. Monkey Bone with Brendan Fraser. Another one of the movies that ruined his career. Not good. Horrible movie. Monkey Trouble. This movie's out of print. This is a hard one to find, and you don't even hear about or see this movie anymore. But it's good. It was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. I loved it. I rented it over and over and over again. And I just loved it when I was a kid. Mighty Python's Life of Brain. Got this at, I think, Goodwill. But yeah, I never watched this movie. I thought it was out of print and I got it at Goodwill. So supposedly it's a classic, but I still haven't got around to watching it. Mother with Albert Brooks. This is one of my favorite movies. If there's like a Mother's Day movie that you need to watch with your like mom, it's this movie. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. Definitely, maybe even in my top 3 favorite Albert Brooks movies. He basically is in a slump. He's a writer. He can't finish writing his book. He hasn't wrote a good book in a while, in years. And he decides to go back to his roots, go back to his mom's house and forget his life in, I think, New York or some like one of those big cities, and just kind of have his own room back. He like embarks on his mom, wants to kind of rebuild the relationship with her. It's just a classic movie. The best part is definitely when they're in the supermarket and, the mom's still like trying to be a mother. Like, she's getting like the cheap stuff. She gets out like her like ice cream that's like a 5-gallon ice cream in the freezer that she's been eating on for like 10 years. Typical mom stuff, It's a great movie. One of my favorite movies of all time. And it's a great movie, man. Definitely a movie you need to watch on Mother's Day. Moving McAllister, with another movie with the Napoleon Dynamite guy. This movie's okay. It wasn't, I don't really like it that much. Mouse Hunt, one of my favorite movies, man. I really like this movie. This movie's super funny, kind of more like a comedy kids movie. I like it, man. These guys are just trying to kill this one mouse like the whole movie. That's like a pain in the butt. Great movie. And apparently, all right, Mr. Baseball, another great comedy movie. A lot of people don't like this movie. You don't hear about this movie that much, but I really enjoyed this movie. He's basically plays for the major leagues, and for some reason, I forgot, maybe he has a temper or something, and he ends up getting like kicked off the Major League Baseball team altogether. And the only way that he can get back in the majors like he wants is if he plays like a season in Japan. So it's a really funny movie. He goes to Japan, plays on their team because they're the only team that'll accept him because he's like I forgot, he like has a temper or something. He's not doing that good in the majors. And it's a good movie, kind of a romantic comedy because he meets a girl in Japan, falls in love with her. I love Tom Selleck, man. He's the best. Mr. Deeds with Adam Sandler. I saw this one in the movie theater. I loved it, man. Just a great Adam Sandler movie. One of the good ones. I think that came out after Big Daddy. Mr. Destiny. Here's a movie that has Linda Hamilton in it that not a lot of people know that she's in it. But it's a good 80s movie, you know. It's pretty good. I think it's like 89 or something. Mr. Mom, Michael Keaton. He's Mr. Mom. Good movie from the year I was born, 1983. Mr. Nanny, man, I loved this movie when I was a kid. And I remember when I watched this movie, like we were trying to do like pranks and stuff because the kids are doing pranks on every nanny that they get. Every nanny ends up quitting because they the kids drive the nanny crazy. And then Hulk Hogan somehow becomes a new nanny and he's not taking it. But just a fun movie, really good kids movie, good comedy movie. Love it. Loved it when I was a kid. Mr. Popper's Penguins with Jim Carrey. This movie was okay. Actually, I enjoyed this movie. It's a good movie, man. I like this one. Billy Crystal and Saturday Night, Mr. Saturday Night. This movie's pretty good. I remember the original cover isn't that one. I used to have it, but I sold it and then bought this one. Kind of a good movie. Not a movie, it's more a stand-up comedy. Mr. Saint Nick. I got this one recently in the Christmas specials. I think it was like $1 or something like that. Still want to watch this one. This one looks pretty good. I guess it's like an original Hallmark movie. Mr. Wrong. This movie isn't that good at all, but in the 90s it was good. I got to admit. I remember the preview was like all over the place. I remember seeing the preview of this like all the time because I used to really be into Full House and Growing Pains, and I just remember seeing the preview of this all the time. And when I finally watched it like decades later, or maybe I'm not that old, but like it wasn't that good. If you missed the 90s, it is good. Miss Doubtfire, definitely one of the greatest movies of all time. If you're a 90s kid, this was your favorite movie for a long time. And I rented this movie tons of times, watched it tons of times, and it's great, man. This to me, I like The Fisher King. There's a lot of Robin Williams classics, Patch Adams. This is definitely one of them too. And I have the behind the scenes edition which has a lot of good deleted scenes in it. Like there's like this one deleted scene where it's really emotional, I remember, and you would think it should have been in the movie, but the deleted scenes in this edition are really good, man. I don't know why they didn't put those in the movie. And Multiplicity with Michael Keaton. Basically, Michael Keaton is he clones himself because he can't get everything done, so he decides to clone himself, and then the clone that he makes wants to clone himself, and then it's like a ricochet effect. It's like all the little clone Michael Keatons are making clones for themselves, and then it just goes nuts in this movie. But I liked it. I like this movie. Love Michael Keaton. All right, Muse, another Albert Brooks movie that was pretty horrible. I didn't like this one that much. He basically hires a muse who's Sharon Stone. It's not that good. One of the Albert Brooks movies I could have dealt without watching. My Baby's Daddy. This movie's pretty funny, man. Method Man, Eddie Griffin. What's the other guy's name? Anthony Anderson. Just a funny movie, man, about babies' daddies and babies. My best friend's girl, the unrated edition. This movie was pretty good. I remember I saw this in the movie theater. I snuck into it. My Big Fat Hip Hop Family. This is one of those movies. It's a pretty B movie. Maverick Entertainment put this one out. They did a lot of like hood type movies and stuff like that. Pretty horrible, but I used to like them back in the day. My Blue Heaven with Steve Martin and Rick Moranis. It's a pretty funny movie, man. I liked this one when I was a kid. And My Boss's Daughter, absolutely horrible. And it's got a big dent in the middle of it for some reason. My Fellow Americans with Jack Lemmon, James Gardner, and Dan Aykroyd. This movie was okay. It's not a Jack Lemmon movie to like go out and get unless you want to, unless you're like me and you have to have every Jack Lemmon movie because he's one of your favorite actors, which is why I have that movie, but pretty horrible. My First Mister, this is another Albert Brooks movie that I really enjoyed. He works at a shoe store and he ends up hiring and being really good friends with this girl who ends up wanting to kill herself, and Lily Sobieski. And it's like the only Lily movie where she doesn't have like blonde hair. So it's kind of cool. I didn't even know it was her, like, till I read that it was her. But this is a really good movie. He like works in the mall. He's a shoe salesman, hires her. They're totally, it's like The Odd Couple. I didn't even read that. I just said that. Meet the New Odd Couple. Wow. Even that agrees with me. But great movie if you haven't seen that one. I love it. Sad ending though. My Five Wives with Rodney Dangerfield. He basically buys a house in like Utah in the Amish community, or no, Mormon. Are they Mormons or Amish? I can't remember. But when he buys the land, it comes with 3 wives, and then somehow he ends up getting 2 more wives, and then he has 5 wives to deal with who are like 20 years old. So it's kind of stupid, man. But it's Rodney Dangerfield. I love it. My Cousin Vinny with Joe Pesci. One of the greatest movies of all time. I love it. I loved it. It's one of the few movies with the Karate Kid in it. Ralph Macchio. I just call him the Karate Kid. But I love this movie, man. This is one of my favorite movies when I was a kid. It's just an awesome movie, man. Loved it. And My Giant. This is kind of more of like a comedy drama. It's kind of sad. I remember this movie being really sad. I love Billy Crystal. I try to collect any movie that he's in, even though the latest movies are pretty horrible. He was really good in the 90s. The 90s was his, like, decade. And even, like, late 80s, he did Throw Mama from the Train, Princess Bride, he was in that. But he's just a great actor that I like collecting and having all his movies. Like that one. My Girl. This was... I remember I used to be ashamed that this was like one of my favorite movies as a kid because it's kind of girly. The girl's on the cover, so people made fun of you if this was your favorite movie. But I really loved this movie when I was a kid. It's really sad. That's all I'm going to say. If you haven't seen this, see it. It's really sad. It's a really cute movie. I love it, man. This is like still to this day one of my favorite movies of all time. Love it. And then My Girl 2, I think, came out a couple years after that, and they're like older. And Anna Chlumsky's in this one. And the guy from Last Action Hero. Can't remember the other movies he's in. But part 2, you know, it wasn't as good as the first one. The first one's just a classic. My Super Ex-Girlfriend, pretty horrible. Dollar bin movie. My Summer Story, this is out of print. This was a pretty funny movie. It's out of print. I like it because of that. Naked Gun 2.5. I don't know why I don't have part 1 and part 3. I don't know if there's a part 4. Is there a part 4? I don't know. But I think I got this in the dollar bin. So whatever. National Security. I loved this movie when it came out. This movie is so freaking funny, man. The whole movie's just great. The beginning when Steve Zahn is playing the cop and there's this bumblebee and somebody records when he's like arresting Martin Lawrence and he's like trying to swat this bumblebee, and from the looks of it, it looks like he's like beating Martin Lawrence. And I think Martin Lawrence gets stung and he's like allergic. So he like gets all these bumps on his face, and then they think that Steve Zahn was really beating him and stuff when he was just trying to swat the bumblebee away. Pretty funny, man. I love this movie. Love it. Might watch that tonight because I haven't seen it in a while. Let's see. Chevy Chase and National Lampoon's movies. The rest of this pile of movies right now is all National Lampoon's movies. And I enjoyed the first like 4 or 5 movies with Chevy Chase. After those movies, I honestly didn't like any of the other movies. They're just pretty stupid. If it doesn't have Chevy Chase in it, it wasn't a good National Lampoon movie. in my opinion. Christmas Vacation is a classic. You must have that one. European Vacation is another awesome movie. My favorite is definitely Christmas Vacation. I know I'm missing one. Vegas Vacation, I love this movie. This one came out like a decade after the older movies, the 80s movies. But this is a great movie. They go to Vegas. He gambles everything, loses everything. Man, I should watch this one tonight because I just love this movie. It's a good one. Classic, one of my favorites. And then I'll just show you the rest of my National Lampoon movies that are pretty horrible. You only watch them once. Horrible, Blackball, horrible. Tom Arnold and Golf Punks, more horrible. Gold Diggers with the guy from Boy Meets World, the older brother, horrible. Van Wilder, Unrated, with the Carol and Kumar dude, one of those dudes, Kumar. And Van Wilder with Ryan Reynolds, another horrible movie. Necessary Roughness, another movie that I like just because Sinbad was in it. I remember when this movie came out, I was really young and I couldn't watch it. But it's a funny movie. I just like it because Sinbad's in it. And like I said, he did like very few movies. Next Friday, I don't know why I don't have Friday 1. Do I have 3? I don't even have 3. What happened to my Friday movie in the third one? I could have sworn that I had both those movies. I must have lent them out or something. But Next Friday is part 2. All 3 of the Friday movies are great. To be honest, I like part 2 more than part 1. I'm probably the only person that likes part 2 over part 1. I just watched part 1 so many times. I remember when this one came out, I watched it over and over again. I even bought the soundtrack, and the soundtrack was pretty good, actually. The New Guy, this movie's hilarious, man. It's got this skinny dude from Road Trip. Just a funny movie. He's a new guy. And here's a Woody Allen movie that's out of print, New York Stories. I haven't seen this movie. I just got it because it's Woody Allen. Night at the Museum with Ben Stiller. These movies are pretty fun, man. I enjoyed these ones. And then I got this, I think, on Black Friday or something. Night at the Museum, Battle of the Smithsonian. And Night at the Roxbury, one of my favorite movies of all time. Love this movie. Watched this movie tons of times when I was a kid. I think I was like 15 when this one came out. But I loved it, man. They're just great. I don't know why. I would have really loved to see A Night at the Roxbury Part 2. But they just didn't want to do it. And the other good movie with Steve Zahn is Corky Romano. Nobody's Baby. Absolutely horrible. No need to talk about that one. The Night Before. This movie was pretty good. I really enjoyed This Is the End more than this movie. I almost thought I got the wrong pile because I saw the T. I'm like, I'm on N. But I guess, yeah, Night Before. That's why I put it in the N section. But yeah, like I said, this movie wasn't as good as This Is the End. I really like This Is the End. That's a funny, hilarious movie. But this one wasn't that good to me. But that's just me. Night in the Life of Jimmy Reardon. I don't really remember much of this movie. I think it's out of print. I just got it because I have to have every River Phoenix movie in my collection. Rest in peace. Night Shift with Michael Keaton. This is just a classic 80s movie, man. Love it. Noise with Tim Robbins. The noise is driving him crazy. That's all I'll say about this movie. Pretty horrible, though. Noise is Off with John Ritter. It's okay. I think it's out of print. Wasn't that good. Nothing to talk about. But here's a movie that I watched over and over again when I was a kid. Funny as hell. Actually, hell isn't funny. Hell sucks. And hopefully I don't go there. But yeah, Nothing to Lose. I loved this movie when I was a kid. It's just a great movie, man. This is definitely one of the best Martin Lawrence movies that he was in. Not Another Teen Movie. Probably not going to watch this movie again. Because it's not that good. Like I said, the scary movies were like really good. And then the other ones kind of aren't that good to me. I don't know why. There's so many of them. Nothing in Common with Tom Hanks and Jackie Gleason. I don't remember much about that one. Nothing Like the Holidays. This movie is pretty good, man. Kind of a comedy drama about a Latin family or a Mexican family during the holidays. And here's another one of those movies that's like Scary Movie, just making fun of a bunch of other movies. This one was kind of funny. Like I said, not that good. Like the Scary Movies. Uh-oh, it's Now and Then. Another chick flick movie that I gotta admit, I was on this movie when I was a kid. Even though it was kind of for the girls, I liked it. I don't know why, but I liked it. I think I just liked it because I had a crush on her. I had a crush on her. I had a crush on her. Really had a crush on, I forgot that chick's name. Thora Birch. I forgot the other movie that I used to love when I was a kid. Can't remember. Let's see. Nothing But Trouble. Classic movie. Love it. One of the greatest movies of all time with John Candy. It's just a super classic. Nurse Betty, absolutely horrible. Nutty Professor, loved this movie to death when I was a kid. I remember it got a lot of crap because, like, you knew that kids were going to watch this movie, but, like, when he's getting made fun of in the, like, the guy who's doing the comedy act, which is Chappelle. Chappelle does a comedy act and he's making fun of Nutty Professor. Couple people like took their kids out of the movie theater because the jokes are like pretty R-rated, I remember. But I enjoyed this movie a lot, but it got kind of crapped on because it kind of pushed the PG-13 rating. I remember. That's what the hype was back then. But Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps, I think this one came out a couple years after that. Yeah, I think like 5-6 years after that. I really enjoyed part 2. Still waiting for part 3. I'm hoping that they make a part 3 because I really want to see that. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Even though this movie won like 2 Academy Awards, to me it wasn't that good. That's just me. Observe and Report, great movie. I really like this movie. This reminds me of the Mall Cop movies. It's just a great movie about cops that aren't really cops, pretty much. Odd Jobs with Paul Reiser. I think this movie's out of print, but I'm not sure. It's okay. Oh God. These movies were pretty good, man. I enjoyed these ones. I like movies about like God and heaven and stuff. And here's the second one to Oh God. This is Oh God Part 2, You Devil. Pretty good. This one's out of print. And like I said before in the beginning when I was doing these comedy movies, the comedies that I'm showing you, anything that's before the 70s is considered a classic to me, so it's in my classic movie section. But Odd Couple 2 kicks butt. I loved it. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I even like that one a little bit better than the first one. I've watched it tons of times. Office Space, Mike Judge movie. He did King of the Hill. I didn't like that one that much, to be honest. Odd Dogs with John Travolta and Robin Williams and Seth Green. I didn't like this movie that much. It's okay, but not that good. Old School with, what's that dude? Will Ferrell. You know what? A lot of people like this movie. I really don't. All right, Once Upon a Crime with John Candy and Richard Lewis, James Belushi. Great actors in this movie, good 80s, 90s actors. Some of my favorite ones. This is also out of print, worth some money. Have to have that for the collection. One Night at McCool's. This movie isn't really that good. I just like it because John Goodman and Paul Reiser's in it, and Matt Dillon. The Open Road. This is another like baseball movie. I always collected the baseball movies. Love them. I probably have a lot of them. There should be a video somewhere in my video playlist about baseball where I show you guys all the movies I have that have to do with baseball. But this is a pretty good one. I like this one. Orange County, saw this one in the movie theater. Good movie. Old school Jake Black. Oscar with Sylvester Stallone. This is honestly probably the worst, one of the worst Sylvester Stallone movies. I did not like this one at all. But since I want to have all his movies, I'll just keep it. Osmosis Jones. This is a pretty good movie. It could be like it has some good like adult humor in this one too, but it's also like for kids. I enjoyed this one though, pretty good. It has like voices from Lawrence Fishburne, Bill Murray, and Chris Rock. Other People's Money. This one's out of print. The one that I forgot to mention when I did my comedy out of print movie collection. This is a pretty good movie. Good 90s Danny DeVito one. Out Cold. This one's okay. This one's only okay. It's not that good, but it's just okay. Out Cold, the one with the old school, I think early 90s or late 80s one with Randy Quaid. And the dude from Third Rock from the Sun. Out to Sea, this one is one of my favorite movies. Saw this at a double feature with Fifth Element 2 different times when I was like 12 years old or something. I love Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon. I actually like this movie better than both of the Grumpy Old Men ones. Love this one. Outside Providence, this movie's pretty horrible. Palo Alto, California, this one's also pretty horrible. Got it in the dollar bin. Pals with George C. Scott. This one's pretty funny. I like this one. The Paper. This movie's pretty horrible as well. Alright, Parenthood. I remember this movie when I was a kid. It's a pretty good movie. Love it. Old school Steve Martin from like the 80s, late 80s. Parental Guidance. This one is pretty good because there hadn't been like a Billy Crystal movie done in a while, and this one was pretty funny, the one with Bette Midler. Pretty like family comedy. Patch Williams, this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I really like this movie. He's like a I think it's based on a true story. Robin Williams plays this guy who like went crazy. In the beginning of the movie, he's in like a mental hospital, and then he kind of turns his life around and wants to help people that can't like afford to get like they don't have the insurance to get like proper help and aid for their like whatever medical problems and stuff like that. Really good movie, man. Has a really sad ending though. Patriot Act. I got this just because it had Drew Carey in it. It's a pretty horrible movie though. Paper Soldiers. This one's okay. I liked it back in the day. I haven't watched it in a while, but it's like one of the very first like Kevin Hart movies. He's basically like robbing houses in this movie. He's trying to stay clear from his probation officer. Beanie Sigel, the rapper's in it. Stacey Dash and Memphis Bleek, another like old school, like late 90s rapper. Paul, this one was really funny. I really liked this movie. Saw it a bunch of times already. Love the alien sci-fi comedy movies. I always love those type of movies. Great movie. Polly. This is kind of a family comedy, more along those lines. I just got it because it had Cheech in it. Let's see. Pauly Shore is Dead. This is like one of the movies that he did because he hadn't done movies in like years and years and years, where he fakes his own death. This one's pretty horrible though. It's not anything to talk about. Pecker with Edward Furlong. This is like one of the last movies he made before he really got like messed up on drugs and stuff. It's okay. It's not really that good. Pee-wee's Big Adventure, one of the greatest movies of all time for sure, hands down. Definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. I love this movie, man. This is just, I've seen this tons and tons and tons of times. Have to have the Pee-wee movies in your collection. Big Top Pee-wee, this is where he's like in the circus and stuff. Pretty funny, man. Not as good as the first one, but still, it's Pee-wee. It's a great movie. I still need to get the new Pee-wee, but it's really, I don't know, it's really different than the previous two. The Perfect Holiday, I think I got this in the dollar bin. Haven't watched this one yet. It looks kind of like a family comedy. Alright, picking up the pieces with Cheech Marin, and this is another Woody Allen movie. I got it for Woody Allen and Cheech. Kind of another David Schwimmer movie. It's okay. It's not really that good. It is out of print, though. Pieces of April. Horrible. No need to talk about that. Pineapple Express. One of my favorite movies. This one's really funny. I love this one. One of my favorites. Pizza. This is kind of like one of those B movies. It didn't really do that good. It's kind of a straight to DVD type of movie, but I actually like this movie. He becomes friends with this girl who like is kind of a loner. She doesn't have any friends of her own, and she begins to like have a crush on this guy, and it's a cute movie, I gotta say. Diane Keaton in Plan B, pretty horrible. The only reason I got this movie is because it had the Rocky dude in it. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, one of the best movies of all time. Love this movie. Definitely is, like I said, one of the best movies of all time. I've seen this movie almost like, probably like, I watch it every couple years because it's just a classic. John Hughes, one of the best John Hughes films around. And I also have the special holiday classic edition right here. Those aren't pillows edition, I guess you could say, with deleted scenes and all that. Pleasantville, I really like this one. I saw this one in school. This is a pretty good one. Popeye with Robin Williams and Shelley Duvall. Have to have that one. Old school Robin Williams. Pontiac Moon, this one isn't that good. I just got it for Ted Danson. Old 90s one. Pootie Tang with Chris Rock. This one's a pretty good one. I like this one. Out of print as well. Postcards from the Edge. Pretty horrible. Problem Child, one of my favorite movies. I love this one when I was a kid. It's also out of print. Still need to find part 2 on DVD. Let's see. Pros and Cons. This movie's pretty good. It's about where these guys end up going to jail. Tommy Davidson and I forgot what that, Larry Miller, I think. That's his name. Pretty funny movie. Has a bunch of guest appearances, including Seinfeld and a couple other people. I think Paul Reiser as well. P.S. Your Cat is Dead. This one's out of print. This is a movie probably nobody's even remembers, but it's pretty funny. I just like it because it has a cat in it. Punks. This one's pretty funny. This one's out of print. This is kind of a harder one to find. Old school Jessica Alba when she was really young. Racing Stripes. This one was okay. It's more of a kid's movie. Frankie Muniz is in it from Malcolm in the Middle. Rat Race. This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. All-star cast. They're all racing to get to this money. It's really funny, man. This is one of the last like Whoopi Goldberg movies where she was actually good. I don't really like her anymore. Alright, Ready to Rumble. This movie's pretty funny. Saw this one in the movie theater. Or no, I didn't. I didn't see this one in the movie theater, but it's pretty funny. I like this one a lot. Have to have this one in your collection. Real Men with James Belushi and John Ritter. Kind of a forgotten about classic from the 80s. That's my cat scratching in the background. Real Blonde. This movie's pretty dumb. I thought it was out of print. That's the only reason why I got it. Let's see. The Ref. Alright, The Ref. This one's pretty funny. I enjoyed this one a lot. This is where this guy like breaks into this couple's house, but the couple ends up driving the robber crazy because they just have a really bad, like they're always fighting. They're in like a horrible marriage, and it just ends up driving the robber crazy. Pretty funny movie, man. I watched this one a couple times. It's really funny. Like that 90s one. Relative Strangers. Pretty horrible. Not that good. Restaurant, just like the movie Chef, this is about a restaurant in the restaurant business, food industry. I always like those movies because I used to work in the food industry. Revenge of the Red Baron. Haven't watched this one yet. I got it in the dollar bin. It's still in the package and all that. Mickey Rooney's in it. I plan on watching this at some point, though. It looks pretty good. Old school Tobey Maguire when he was really young. Revenge of the Nerds, Panty Raid Edition. It's Revenge of the Nerds. It's a classic. Rhinestone. This movie right here is one of those forgotten about Sylvester Stallone ones where it's actually kind of a musical because Sylvester Stallone basically Dolly Parton wins like a bet to make anybody, the first person that she runs into, a music star. And the first person she runs into is Sylvester Stallone, who's a cab driver. And then, you know, it's her duty to make him into this, like, country singing star. Pretty funny movie, man. I think this one's out of print as well. Ride Along, this one was pretty funny. I still haven't got to watch part two, but I know the first one was pretty funny. The Ringer with Johnny Knoxville, this one is hilarious, man. This one got crapped on a lot because they said it was making fun of disabled people, special needs people, but it's actually it's actually a really good movie. All these guys in this movie are like known actors now. They're in like other movies, but definitely a classic. Ringmaster with Jerry Springer. This one's pretty funny. I think this one's out of print. You don't see this one too much anymore. I like this one. Raising Arizona with Nicolas Cage and Holly Hunter. This one was pretty funny. I like that one. Risky Business with Tom Cruise, one of his first movies. Pretty good. Road Trip. This used to be one of my favorite movies. One of the first Tom Green movies that he ever made before Freddy got fingered. Have to have that in your collection. Robin Hood Men in Tights. This one, I didn't like that one that much. I think it was in the dollar bin. Roommates. This one's pretty funny. I enjoyed that one. Let's see. Romy and Michelle's High School Reunion. This one's pretty funny as well. This was a classic back in the day. Rookie of the Year. This was my favorite movie when I was a kid. With the kid who like breaks his arm and then he can pitch like 100 miles an hour. So he's able to go on the major leagues. John Candy's like one of the sports announcers in this movie. Rushmore with Woody Allen. This one's pretty funny. Bill Murray. RV with Robin Williams. This one was pretty funny. One of his last movies before he died. Well, actually not one of his last. It came out like a bunch of years before that. But it was a pretty funny movie. I like that one. More of like a kid's movie. Sandlot, this is another one of my favorite movies, same as like Rookie of the Year. I watched it tons of times when I was a kid. Sandlot 2, this one wasn't that good. Sandlot 3, I'm just a fan of the Sandlots. These aren't really that good to me. Maybe if I was younger. Saved with Macaulay Culkin, where they're like in like this school and they're all like in this like, they're all Christians in like this high school. Pretty stupid. St. Elmo's Fire, old school classic with tons of actors. Paul McCarthy, Emilio Estevez, Rob Lowe, Demi Moore, Andy McDonald when she was really young. Savages, haven't watched this one yet, but it's with Philip Seymour Hoffman, kind of a comedy drama. And then of course, I can't leave out all of the scary movies. I have every single one. These movies are the best. I saw like almost all these in the movie theater. They're just classics. Got part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, and part 5, the one with Snoop Dogg. Alright, so I just realized after all these comedy movies I'm showing you guys that if I just have like a small pile, it looks a lot better than if I'm going like this. So I'm going to try to keep it to like, how many movies is here? Like 6 or something. Try to do 6 at a time. So, The Scheme. This movie was pretty funny. I don't know what happened to Brian Hooks, but he was like a really funny actor. He was in the movie Three Strikes. His first movie was Fat Beach, which I used to have. I don't have it anymore for some reason. And then he did another funny movie called Chat Room, where he's meeting chicks online. And they turn out to be like these horrible, ugly women. Pretty funny movie. But The Scheme is another funny movie. I like Brian Hooks. Let's see. Scenes from a Mall. This movie's really funny. They both decide to, this married couple, Woody Allen and Bette Midler, decide to go to a mall. And both of them decide they're going to tell each other that they were cheating on each other. And then it's just a huge fight inside the mall. One of the best acting movies inside of a mall that I've ever seen, besides like Mallrats. School for Scoundrels with John Heder, the guy that was in Napoleon Dynamite. Billy Bob Thornton. This one's okay. It's okay. It's a funny movie though. Scooby-Doo, the first one. I like how these snapbacks have like different colors. Like this, the first movie has this green one. I just like the butt farting humor in these Scooby-Doo movies. Scooby-Doo 2, another like green, crazy color case. Scrooge, old school classic from I think 87 or something with Bill Murray. This one's a classic Christmas movie. Classic one with kind of a like scary twist. Um, The Scout. This is the movie where I just like it because Albert Brooks is in it. He basically goes. He's like a scout, and he finds out about Brandon Fraser is like this good pitcher. It's a funny movie. I like this one a lot. Screwed with Norm Macdonald, the guy that was in Dirty Work, and Danny DeVito and Dave Chappelle. Really funny movie. I love this one. Seen it a bunch of times. Have to have this one in your comedy collection. See No Evil, Hear No Evil, a freaking classic. This is a classic of a classic. I've seen this tons of times. A blind guy and a deaf guy become like best friends, and it's just a classic movie, man. One of the best Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder movies they did together. Semi-Pro, I didn't like this movie at all. Senseless, I did like this movie a lot. Love this movie. This is where they make this like potion that enhances all like his eyesight is better. Like he can see like 100 times better than the average human. He can hear better than he has like hearing like who has good hearing? A dog? No, a dog has good smell. I'm tripping. But you guys get my thing. He's like everything's enhanced. All his senses, that's the word I was trying to think of. His senses are all enhanced in this movie by this like magical potion and stuff. David Spade's in it. Marlon Wayans is just the best in it. Love it. One of my favorite movies. Serving Sarah is not one of my favorite movies. It's horrible. It was in the dollar bin. 17 again. I like this movie. I like movies like this where it's like they go back in the past or like they switch roles. Like the I guess he's like 30 something years old and then he goes back to being 17 again. I really like movies like that. I always enjoyed movies like that. Shakes the Clown with There's an actor in this. I think maybe Robin Williams has a short part in this. I can't remember. It's a known actor, but I forgot who it is. Or maybe it's John Ritter. I can't remember. But this is an out of print movie. Shakes the Clown, classic clown movie. Don't watch it if you have a clown phobia. Shaun of the Dead. This one was pretty funny. I like this one. Kind of like your scary movies, just making fun of other movies. She Devil. Old school Roseanne Barr movie. This movie's out of print, but I think it had a Blu-ray release. This movie's funny though, old school movie. Amanda Bynes and She's the Man, where she's the man for some reason, even though she's a chick. I don't know. Old school, early role of John Cena when he was young. Or not John Cena, dude, who am I thinking of? I'm tripping right now. They kind of look alike. I just tripped on that. It's Channing Tatum. That's right. Shrek. This movie's kind of a family kids movie, but it's still kind of a comedy movie because it has the voices of Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy, Cameron Diaz as well. Shrek. I like that movie. Shrek 2, not as good as the first one, but that's to be expected. Tom Green and Shred, pretty horrible. One of the worst Tom Green movies, but it's Tom Green, so I had to get it for the collection. Short Circuit, an old school classic from my childhood. Great movie. I used to watch this tons of times when I was a kid. Classic. Let's see. Sideways, pretty horrible movie. I don't know why it won awards. I didn't like this movie at all. Simple Wish, old school movie with the girl from Matilda. Martin Short, kind of a comedy kids movie. Sister Act. I love the Sister Act movies. These movies are so freaking good. I love them. Love Whoopi Goldberg in the 90s and the 80s, but after like 2000, like maybe like 2005, I'll go all the way to 2005, she was just horrible to me. Ever since she like started doing The View, she's just like a different person. She's all like, she's just too... She has just a bad attitude, man. She's just like against everything. She's like all like a feminist now and everything. And she's just a pain in the butt. She needs, I don't know. I just don't like her anymore. But I'm not going to lie. She was the shizzy shiznit in the 90s and 80s. I loved her in the 90s and 80s. And I loved the Sister Act movies. Probably one of the Yeah, I would say that the Sister Act movies, along with like Eddie the movie, a bunch of other 80s ones, are like my favorite Whoopi Goldberg movies for sure. Sister Act, the first one, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it. Sister Act movies are my favorite Whoopi Goldberg movies for sure. Uh, love them. Love them, love them, love them. And Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit. I guess I love them because they're in San Francisco as well. But I love the Sister Act movies, man. Love them. Six Man, this movie's great. This movie right here is one of my favorite movies when it came out when I was a kid as well, because Marlon Wayans basically, both of the brothers play basketball, and then one of the brothers dies and comes back from the dead, and he's like an not like an angel, but he has like a bad side. He has like a evilness to him. He's not like a good angel. He's not really, he's just kind of evil when he comes back to help the brother out. He's kind of evil. I don't know why, but he is. Jonah Hill is the sitter. This movie is pretty funny. I have this one on Blu-ray, as you could see the blue color right there. That means it's Blu-ray, obviously. Yeah, The Sitter, pretty good movie. The Simpsons, the movie, I wish they would have made more like Simpsons movies. I'm still waiting for the Family Guy movie and Bob's Burgers movie. I would really like to see those. I mean, they did The Simpsons, they did Beavis and Butthead. Why not do a Bob's Burgers and, or King of the Hill movie? I'd give up all my movies to see a King of the Hill movie. That would be freaking awesome. But this was a good movie. I like that one. Slapshot 2, I don't know what happened to my Slapshot 1 with, or maybe it's in my classics because it's like older than 1970s or before 1980s. Part 2 wasn't that good though. Smart People, this movie's okay. It's not really that good. Kind of a comedy, kind of a black comedy drama. Smoke Signals, this movie's kind of a comedy drama as well. This one's also out of print, about Native Americans. Smother with Diane Keaton and Liv Tyler. Pretty good movie. Actually, it's not that good. Actually, I haven't even watched it, so I don't know what I'm talking about. It was in the dollar bin, so I'm just guessing it's not that good. But it's Diane Keaton, so it could be good. I don't know. Snowboard Academy with Ernest, man. Love it. All because of Ernest. Even though he's not Ernest in this movie, he still has that stupidness Ernest persona in this movie. I love it. Love Snowboard Academy. Soap Dish, this one's out of print. Kevin Kline, Sally Field, Robert Downey Jr., Whoopi Goldberg. Who's that other girl? It's not Kirstie Alley, but somebody else. Something to Talk About with Robert Duvall, Julia Roberts, Dennis Quaid. It's okay. Not much to talk about. Sorority Boys. This movie's funny, man. Funny stuff right here. I love it, man. I love this when it came out for some reason. I don't know why. It's just a funny, stupid movie. Sneakers with River Phoenix, old school classic. Dan Aykroyd, Robert Redford, Andy McDonald, who was in Mary McDonald, who was in Dances with Wolves.